For the next lovely keynote speaker, we have Tony, who is the co-founder of The Bitcoin Way. And the keynote title is The Only Way to Own Your Own Money is 100% Self-Custody. He's not wrong there. Please, warm welcome, give it up for Tony.
Hi guys, I'm Tony, co-founder of The Bitcoin Way, and I'm here to tell you a story. Everybody has a story that brings them to Bitcoin. I'm going to share mine with you. Hopefully it resonates with enough in order to change either your perceptions that you have of Bitcoin or maybe your methodology of dealing Bitcoin. The short sum of the story is that all roads lead to proper Bitcoin self-custody. The Bitcoin white paper was written in one way, and there is no other way to deal with it other than in proper self-custody. And this is how it begins. So a little bit about me. I come from over 25 years of cybersecurity, encryption, and privacy. I've been in this world my whole life, and I bring 8 years of Bitcoin experience combined with cybersecurity at the Bitcoin Way in order to show everyone proper methodology into doing Bitcoin self-custody. What a lot of people seem to forget is that Bitcoin is technology first, money second. The focus primarily is always on the money because it's more interesting and more fun. But if the technology is not accounted for, you're putting your money at risk. So what are we doing? Most people are not comfortable with technology. It makes them nervous. It makes them anxious. So at the Bitcoin Way, we've decided to remove all of that anxiety by hand-holding everyone through the entire process, making sure that every detail is accounted for, no shortcuts are taken with regards to the recommended hardware, recommended software, everything that's involved in this process, we look at very carefully. We don't sell anything, so we have no incentives, to recommend anything over another. We are really, think of us as like the Switzerland of knowledge, unbiased truth when it comes to education. We're purely education, and this is the white glove service that we're offering everyone. So, my story, what brought me to Bitcoin? On an unfortunate day in 2019, October 2019, at the age of 41, I was retired, or at least I thought I was retired. And then one day, woke up over a cup of coffee and realized that my entire life has been completely wiped and stolen. When credit cards stopped working, access to my bank account was completely blocked, access to ATMs was no longer working, and what's worse, no one at the bank was answering the phone calls. Now, in the moment, you don't think much about this. You think it's like maybe a temporary glitch, that it'll pass. But very quickly, you start hearing the screams and the panics of people around you, and you very quickly realize that there's a big problem going on. And before you know it, the news breaks out that all banks have seized everybody's life savings. No one has access to anything. So, what do you do in that moment? Well, nothing. There's nothing really you can do other than sort of absorb the shock, which almost feels a little surreal because it's a mixture of guilt, mixture of feeling responsible, even though it has nothing to do with you. But you have to deal with it because there's people who depend on you that you now have no way of helping out. This is what led me into Bitcoin. So a lot of people, unfortunately, don't make it out of a situation like this, and this is by no means limited or isolated to countries like Lebanon. The mechanics of fiat currencies are the same no matter where you live. There's no place on earth where you think you can hide to be safe from this. So I had a choice to make when this blew out. Either I let it destroy me, or I let it weaponize me into a tool of education to empower others so that they never have to go through what I and thousands of people went through in Lebanon, okay? Why 100% self-custody? When your life is ripped away from you in the way that it was from me, you understand that the fiat system is not a system that was created to be fair. It is a system that was created to steal, censor, and control, nothing more. No matter what your local currency is, the mechanics behind it are the same. The money in your bank is not yours. When you sign up for that bank account, you're supposed to read all the sheets of paper that they show you. How many of you have done it? I'm pretty sure none of you have. But yet you've signed your name on every single one of them. And when you do this, that's essentially what you're doing. You're giving the bank access to all the money that you're putting in there, and they technically owe it back to you. But when all hell breaks loose, they don't. Okay? No bank in the world has money. They are all bankrupt. From the biggest names to the most unknown names, none of them have money. So, for the first time in history, when the financial crisis broke out in 2008, I think that was the tipping point. Bitcoin was born. Someone said enough was enough and finally gifted the world with an option to exit, to opt out of the legacy system, the one that we've been brainwashed since the day we were born to believe was just the way the world works. It's not just the way the world works. It's the way the world works according to those who created that system. But that system benefits them. It doesn't benefit you, doesn't benefit anyone. So, self-custody. Finally, we have an option to 100% own our time and energy. There is nothing else out there other than Bitcoin that lets us do this. Anything else you cannot protect, doesn't belong to you, unless you have an army to protect it, which most of us do not. So, where do Bitcoiners go wrong when they buy Bitcoin? Some of us hear about Bitcoin, it's the greatest thing, everybody buys it for whatever reason. Most of the reasons are incorrect. It's, I'm going to become rich. Yes, that's true, but only if you do it right. Most people keep their Bitcoin on an exchange because they assume it's safe. It's not. The Bitcoin on an exchange is no different than the money in your bank. It's not yours. If the exchange, for whatever reason, decides they don't want to give it to you, they won't. If they're coerced by the local government to freeze your funds for whatever reason, they will do it. You are nothing and no one to an institution holding your funds. That's mistake number one. The second mistake is by falling into the trap of convenience by not properly doing the research on the devices that you use to store your Bitcoin. There are a lot of companies out there that use the Bitcoin brand for fiat profits. From a cybersecurity perspective, we call them out. We test everything out there on the market to filter out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we put them on a recommendation list and we send them out to people. Our criteria for selecting these products is very strict because you have to understand cybersecurity in order to call out the good from the bad. Wallets that support multi-currencies. That's mistake number 3. They are open to a multitude of software attack vectors. You want to stay away from them. People buy them because they're priced well. They get a deal, they think they're doing something good. You're not. And mistake number 4, entrusting a third party with your keys under the illusion of convenience or security. I don't have to be responsible for my keys. They will do it. I can sleep well at night. Many people have fallen into this trap, and at some point in time, every single one of them has gotten burnt. Bitcoin was not created for collaborative custody. Bitcoin was not created for convenience custody. Bitcoin was not created for someone else is going to do the work custody. Bitcoin was created for 100% self-custody, which means you have to do the work yourself or assume the risk of loss, which is often the case. But it's an unnecessary risk because there are options. But it just requires us to do the work. And why it scares a lot of people is because we've never had anything like Bitcoin in the history of humanity. and its technology. So, what products are good products? If it's not open source or verifiable source, you cannot trust it. It's as simple as that. If you've got a proprietary software, you have to trust that what the developer or the manufacturer is telling you is the truth. Will you? When you're holding your generational wealth, will you trust anyone? I wouldn't. And I wouldn't recommend that you do either. Because whatever amount of Bitcoin you think you have now will be worth considerably more in the near future. We have never seen an asset like it. It's finite in supply. You can't possibly imagine how valuable this asset is because we are not living in the future yet. But the future is headed to a Bitcoin standard because it's the only one, it's the only asset that we can trust, the only asset that at some point governments will have to adopt because none of them trust each other. So what are they gonna standardize on? They're going to standardize on the asset that they know the other one doesn't have another country doesn't have an advantage over them with. And in my personal opinion, I wouldn't be surprised that in the very near future, Bitcoin, anything attempting to disrupt the Bitcoin network will be considered a crime, which is ironic considering where we are now to where we are headed. So, doing your due diligence in properly self-custodying your Bitcoin is not hard. There are a lot of resources out there that can help you do it. If you have some technical know-how, you can do it yourself. But you have to assume the risks of the trial and error. Or you can seek the assistance of professionals that do this for a living. Take a shortcut and get things right from the get-go. I do this for a living. My mission here is not to be rich. My mission here is to empower as many people as possible to ensure that the corrupt legacy system goes down and is replaced by one that can no longer be corruptible in order to secure the future that we want our families and our kids to live in. You do not want to live in a future that is dictated by a bunch of psychopaths that think they know better what's good for you. And the only way to do this is to defund the system if you don't want to go to war with them. So, Bitcoin and self-custody, highly recommended. If you don't know enough about it, please study it. There's a lot more to it than the money aspect. The temporary volatility that you see in price is just that. It's a temporary number. We are transitioning from an old legacy system into a brand new one. There is no way this is going to be a smooth sailing. It's not a light switch. It's a process. Once you understand Bitcoin, the volatility doesn't faze you. Once your setup in self-custody is bulletproof, you don't care what's happening on the outside. You'll sleep well at night no matter what goes on. And that's really the state that you want to be in, when you get involved in Bitcoin, when you truly understand what it is, what it represents. And at the same time, if you've got a family, think of an inheritance plan. It's not just you. I mean, you get it. But if something happens, you get hit by a bus or you drop dead overnight, does anyone after you know what to do? Even know what you have or what you've done? If the answer is no, you've got some thinking to do. You've got some actions to take. You have responsibilities to account for. So that's my story. And this is what I do now every single day. I consult with people that come to me, and I teach them how to become a cybersecurity expert. This is what we do at the Bitcoin Way. Our services are categorized into 3 priorities. Priority 1, protect the money. Bitcoin and self-custody done right. Priority 2, protect the devices that you use to manage your Bitcoin. Priority number 3, if you're no longer happy or feel safe where you're living, move. We've got a citizenship program that'll give you options in jurisdictions that are Bitcoin friendly, that respect and value you as a human being. There are options out there. You just have to ask. And there are resources there that are willing to help you. So that's my story, and I hope it resonates with enough people for you to take the proper action because we are living in a crazy world. In my opinion, we're witnessing history in the making. If you are in Bitcoin today, consider yourself honestly blessed, because 99% of the world is clueless, and they don't even know that they're clueless. That's the worst part. The end game is the same. Fiat is headed to zero. Save your time and energy. Stop being ripped off. That's what's happening. Inflation is ripping you off. Taxes are ripping you off. The whole system is rigged. There is an option now. It's called Bitcoin, but it requires us to do the work. And the work is not hard. It's just new. Thank you. Anyone has any questions? We've got a couple of minutes. We can shoot them up. Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very easy when it comes to a hardware wallet. You want to know guidelines? If it touches a computer, don't touch it. Doesn't matter what the brand is. If it connects to a computer, you don't touch it. If it's multi-crypto, you don't touch it. If it's closed source, you don't touch it. Doesn't leave many options, right? Very few companies are doing this properly. Yep. You don't need many options.
Nice. It's a good upgrade.
Open source, verifiable source, Bitcoin only. Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
What is your go-to self-custody solution between a standard BIP39 with the passphrase and a multisig?
That depends on your technical skills. Most people cannot do a multisig from day one. So doing a single sig with a passphrase done properly is an excellent starting position. There are many people doing this without any concerns. Once you've got a solid foundation in place, you can easily scale into some of the more advanced stuff. It's not a race. It's a progression based on your technical comfort level. Because my concern is not setting you up. My concern is ensuring that you don't make a mistake at some point along the way, or either you lose a piece of information that'll lock you out of your funds. But technically speaking, multisig is more secure. But it's no good if you're going to mess it up somehow inadvertently.
Hi there. Could you just say a bit more about a point you made a minute ago about a hard wallet not touching the computer?
Yeah.
What's the alternative?
Air-gapped wallets.
Air-gapped wallets?
Yes.
And Trezor, for example, isn't one of those?
It connects to a computer.
So how do you get the stuff on there?
Well, it depends on the device. Some of them use a camera, others use a micro SD card.
Okay. Could I talk to you later?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're all welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you recommend in terms of inheritance? What's your first step?
Getting to know you, because everybody's situation is different. There is no off-the-shelf solution for inheritance planning. Everybody's circumstances differ from one person to another. And so we can have a conversation, and we'll ultimately find one that finds a sweet spot between security but also usability and practicality for you. So, you know, that's really what it comes down to. All right, I think we're good. If you guys have any questions, please come and see me on booth 12, the Bitcoin Way. We're right here. Happy to talk to everyone. Thank you very much.